The one that I did pay attention to, I watched a lot of the games, was the Hlinka, which is one of my favorites because that really kicks off the draft season every year. So like for 2024, this is the tournament that really starts off. Like this is where guys get their names out there, and then people really start tracking. Obviously, anyone that covers prospects, they've been seeing these kids for a couple of years, but this is the first big international tournament that really kicks things off. It's a very interesting tournament because the USA does not send their top guys at all. Like they don't send the national team development program guys. So it's always like at least their top ones. They usually go like the summer showcase, or they just don't go whatever. But so it's always like they have a hard time competing. It's always Canada's tournament because that's their fucking A team. And holy shit, every year they are fucking unbelievable. Like, as a reference point, last year, I think they gave up 3 goals total and just like kicked the shit out of everybody and won the gold. They won the gold again this year, but a very, very, very different tournament where almost every single game up until the final, like the championship game, was a complete blowout. Like, so I'd say last year, Canada, they did not lose. I think they were losing they were never losing. They were tied for 14 seconds, I think, last year, maybe like a minute, something like that. It was really very funny. But their first game at the Hlinka this year, they got murdered 9-4 by Finland. And it was like every game was like that. So it was just a very weird tournament until the final game, which was unbelievable. Overtime, Canada takes down Czechia. But the reason, again, I love it is just like, obviously it's always nice you focus on a draft like pool like that year, like 2023 we've been locked into for 2 years, and it's really exciting to like just move on and like get a fresh slate of players. There are some big time standouts from some unexpected places. Like Czechia for 2024, Adam Titelbeck, their number 1 center there, was a stud the whole tournament. Emil Hemming from Finland was unbelievable. He played really well. A couple guys from USA played solid, but the big one that stood out like every time I watched for Czechia was a 2025 prospect, Adam Benak, who I think he was like accounting for like 60% of their points and was a complete stud. Had both primary assists against Canada. And then Michael Misa, another 2025 kid for Canada, was really good. The points weren't really there because he's like a 16-year-old, and that lineup was fucking loaded. But the thing that was most noteworthy is how different of a tournament it was last year, where last year, like every game essentially was close. Again, Canada, I think, gave up 3 goals total. This year, again, 9 goals in their first game, and eventually they figured it out. But the guys that you expected to really take this tournament and just kind of like dominate did. So that for Canada, like Berkeley Catton was unbelievable. The guy like competing for a top 5 pick this year. Zane Perek is so much fun. That's defenseman. He plays out with Hunter Haight in Saginaw, right shot D-man. I think he scored 21 goals this past year as a defenseman. He was unbelievable. But the big one that really stood out in the back end for Canada was, we talked about him last time we did this, was Henry Muse. Holy shit. He was a stud. And like right now, Dickinson, Sam Dickinson, another defenseman for Canada. A lot of people would have him as the shoe-in guy to go first Canadian defenseman anyways. But Henry Muse was unbelievable for the Canadians, like both sides of the puck. He probably realistically saved them in the gold medal game, where he was defending a 2-on-1 against the 2 guys for Czechia that were solid the whole tournament, Benak and Titelbeck. And he just played it perfectly, didn't even let a shot off, and then led transition the other way. But just a really entertaining gold medal game. Henry Muse, again, phenomenal. But the winning goal in overtime for Canada, Malcolm Spence, another defenseman, 2024 prospect. First of all, he stripped, I think it was, it's a different kid that's going to go high in this draft. But for Czechia, strips at the red line, goes in and just waits out the Czech goaltender and goes shelf. It was an unbelievable goal for a gold medal in overtime. Well, I guess not gold medal, but international tournaments. I always just say gold medal when it's an international tournament, just because it's more
We should
fun,
start saying that now when someone wins the Stanley Cup, like gold medal.
Gold medal.
Gutty
Gold
effort.
medal. Yeah, they should give out the gold medals too. But I was just happy that like the final wasn't a complete blowout, and really because every team either was blowing other teams out or getting blown out themselves. Like the second they hit the elimination games, it was like, who the fuck knows who's gonna win? Which is always fun because again, last year Canada, I mean, it wasn't even close. They just destroyed everybody. So it was nice that they actually like didn't do that again. But I'm telling you, like Czechia, that country is just continuing to produce some absolute studs, and I don't see it slowing down. But just a really fun tournament overall, even though the beginning was brutal because every game was a blowout. It was insane. It was unbelievable, but it got better as it went on, which is always a relief. And I mean, USA and Canada, the first like period and a half, it was close, and then Canada just blew the doors off. A 2025 kid for Canada. Well, oh my God, what's his first name? His last name is Martone, and he's a stud. He's real fun. But he scored the goal of the tournament. Went end to end. Yeah, he went end to end. It was unreal. But again, the big takeaway though was significantly different than last year. There were a couple of 2025 guys that played really well. And really it sucked because it was in Slovakia, or I'm sorry. It was in Slovakia. So there was a big, like last year, the gold medal game, there was nobody there, but that building was rocking, hoping for Czechia to win, obviously being right there. And they scored late to tie it up. I just couldn't get it done in overtime. But I mean, a couple of guys that really stood out, but like the 2025 guys were unbelievably impressive, which is always interesting, but fun again. So the 2024 draft year now kicked off with that tournament, and now it gets fun where guys put themselves on the map, and a couple did. Really weird. Again, I said this last time too. Like Sweden, this draft class, it's so weird. Like there were a couple guys that played real well. Like one of the guys that we mentioned was an early all-name team candidate / frontrunner, Leo Shalin Wallenius. He really solidified himself as probably a second-round pick. Flirted with the first-round pick. He was playing really well for Sweden. Other than that, it was the kid I mentioned earlier, Alexander Zetterberg. He was really good for them. Probably their best player on the tournament. Their captain, Linus Eriksson, another solid player for them, but didn't really do. I mean, they did nothing compared to usually they're challenging. So weird draft class. A bunch of guys that you would peg for late second to middle of the round, but like solid players, but just no one that's going to really. No one that you anticipate to make the huge pop. So
no Erik Karlsson
every year,
so to speak.
There's no Erik Karlssons. Sad, hate to see it, but always fun. I love that tournament every year.
Fun, and I gotta defend you a little bit here. I know you're beating yourself up for a second, saying Czech Republic instead of Czechia. One of our friends who runs a different Minnesota Wild podcast. For you, Z, we'll just say it's the one that had concerning wall paint color in their background. When they were talking about that location, they said Czechoslovakia, which is vastly more offensive.
It hasn't been that in a long time.
A long time for a good reason.
Well, the one thing I can't remember. I think it was on Chicklets. It's like Char. I think it was when Char was on Chicklets. They're like, "Hey, by the way, why are they like? When did Czechia become like? Why is it that?" He goes, "I'll be honest, I have no idea." Yeah. They were like, "Oh, okay." Like he goes, "I don't know. I don't really know the reason, but apparently it is."
Now, not in disrespect, but just for the intrigue of the topic, let's say that it was one nation still, Czech and Slovaks. Where do they rank as far as a nation for hockey talent at that point? Because both groups are kind of a squirrely bunch that keep on being right on the fringe.
Both are skyrocket. I mean, both of the they're taking massive steps. Czechia.
Right, but if you put them together, dude.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm saying if it's one nation,
they're already
like it
they're already
was.
competing. They're already competing. Look at the real
Right.
the real
I'm
world.
saying, are they pushing for top 3, or is that too much?
Well, and here's the thing. This is why the fucking like geopolitical thing is so fucking annoying, because who knows with Russia anymore? We have no idea.
Okay, Russia's out of it for the next couple years, I think. With current teams, if it was one nation of Slovakia plus Czechia, are they a top 3 nation or not? Basically, we're looking at U.S., they've Canada, shown that Finland, Sweden. Are they beating 2 of those?
Yeah, they have been, and they have been like this past World Juniors. The Czech, like they go and overtime against Canada. In the semis, Slovakia overtime against Canada, like with decent chances to win it too. Hlinka, Czechia, right there. 2 years ago, I think Russia beat Czechia in the final of the Hlinka. Like, so they're now, right there. They're already challenging. It's not even a question mark. They're challenging.
Let's be ridiculous now. What if instead of Sweden and Finland, we just had Scandinavia? Is that the number 1 team in the world or no?
That's very interesting, because actually there's kids from
plus you got Norway, whatever, but
no, that's what I'm saying. Norway's produced, like there are a couple kids coming from Norway and Denmark that are solid. I mean, my guy.
Is Denmark Scandinavia?
I thought it was considered part of it. It might not be. I might be making that up. I believe.
I'll allow it. I didn't know if you pick up on that one.
The hand motion really got
it. I need a sombrero. Sorry.
This guy.
I'll sit here and wait for Cosgrove to chime in.
Yeah, we'll see. I feel like it is. I'm gonna Google it. This is really good.
Don't put Denmark in. Just say which countries make up Scandinavia. And of course, Isha's in the chat saying that Canada would still win. Canada B team.
Denmark, Norway, Sweden. Sometimes also, I don't know what. I've never heard of that. Faroe Islands. Well, Finland.
You definitely started sketching out on me.
No, I've never heard of. I don't know how to. Åland. Åland is an autonomous and demilitarized region of Finland. So why did we?
So it's Finland.
Yeah, it's Finland. Apparently.
I heard the Faroe Islands are sick though.
Allegedly.
Hockey. Allegedly.
For hockey.
This is actually a worthy question for us to kind of wrap up on then, since we're talking and we already got into, hey, like, we don't know if Russia counts. How good would their team be?
I mean, they've got 2 of the best prospects in junior hockey right now already, in Demidov and Michkov. I know people who have come right out and say, in terms of no, I'm saying like comparisons between Demidov and Michkov. And I get it because he gives you more in terms of like
elaborate.
I'm trying to figure out how to exactly say it. Like his profile offensively, like he's a elite playmaker, elite shooter, like he's giving you everything. But Michkov is, I still feel like, I'm not ready to say it yet, but Demidov also can give you some like decent defensive prowess too, which is always interesting. Like he's way better defensively than he should be. Just I don't know.
I mean, the real question is, will Demidov sign a 3-year contract?
Well, yeah.
That certainly makes a difference. So if we're doing the Russian nesting doll, Z, which one is Michkov and which one's Demidov?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. That's way.
Do you think that both become better than Kirill Kaprizov?
Obviously, he's well past his prime. Billy Guerin fucked them up. They couldn't add good players because of the salary cap. So Michkov.
I'd rather have Fiala.
Kaprizov. Yeah, and I'd rather have. I don't know what's another good player they traded. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. I don't know. Bill Garrett sucks. That's my answer. Final answer.